Hello there. The dissolution of the monasteries, sometimes referred to as the suppression of the monasteries, was the set of administrative and legal processes between 1536 and 1541, by which Henry VIII disbanded monasteries, priories and convents in England, Wales and Ireland, appropriated their income, disposed of their assets and provided for their former members and functions. He was given the authority to do this in England and Wales by the Act of Supremacy, passed by Parliament in 1534. This made him the supreme head of the Church in England, thus separating England from papal authority, with the first Suppression Act happening in 1536 and the second Suppression Act happening in 1539. Let's start from the beginning, shall we? Let's look at the monasteries in 1530. There were at least 825 religious houses in England and Wales. It is believed that these religious houses owned over 1/3 of the English land and gained £160,000 a year. Already we can see reasons that would have enticed Henry to dissolve the monasteries. On that note, we will have a look at Henry's main reasons.
So let's recap the reasons for the dissolution of the monasteries. There was suspicion of the monasteries because of their potential loyalty to Rome rather than the new church Henry made himself head of during the royal supremacy. This of course is debatable. We can't really know what Henry and Cromwell were thinking of. However, we can safely say that the monasteries own 1/3 of the land and income of £160,000 a year, and with the kings forever looking for money, it seems like a good motivation. So just how did Henry dissolve the monasteries? In March 1536, Parliament passed an act many of the monasteries had feared. The act stated that any monastery with an income of less than £200 a year, as assessed by the Valor Ecclesiasticus of course, would be dissolved and their property passed on to the crown. The heads of the houses were offered a pension, while those who lived in the religious houses were given the choice of transferring to a larger one or going to live in a society free of any hours of poverty and obedience, but still having to respect their vows of chastity. 300 religious houses fell within this category of having an income less than £200 a year. Once the act was passed, government commissioners moved with speed to shut down the religious houses. They feared that any delay of actions would allow the movable treasure and wealth of these houses to disappear. These small monasteries were easy targets that can go into little against the government. Their valuable metal, gold, silver, bronze and lead was taken by the government and to be melted down. The land was swiftly rented out, while other items not required by the government were auctioned off locally. What the government did not acquire was taken by the local population. The dissolution of the monasteries had a massive impact on England. In terms of history, most Catholic historians look at this act as vandalism. Cultural vandalism, if you will. Architectural treasures were lost forever, and only ruins remain. A lot of Protestant historians, however, look upon the dissolution of the monasteries as a necessary act to forward the Reformation. At the time, this was a huge event. In October 1536, this first rebellion broke out in Lincolnshire. There was a rebellion due to religious unrest. This was clear from the list of grievances drawn up by the rebels that religious concerns were closely intertwined with political and economic issues. This was followed by the Pilgrimage of Grace, which lasted till December. Some religious houses were charged with helping the rebels in the Pilgrimage of Grace. Once order was restored, Henry showed no mercy. The head of each religious house thought to be involved was declared a traitor in an act of attainder and executed. In an act of dubious legality, it was declared that the house of the executed lost their property. Therefore, after the executions, all this private property transferred to the crown, and as was required by an act of attainder, any monks left from these houses were forced out.